The Boston Celtics had a great team win last night over the San Antonio Spurs, winning 117-98. And however, this was without Derrick White and Kristaps Porzingis, as this was another Boston Celtics game where Joe Mazzulla decided to sit some of the starters due to some kind of elbow sprain, right knee soreness, or inflammation. But in reality, it's more of just resting some of these starters. We're going to break down what happened in last night's game and what we think of the starters getting rest. And we're also going to talk about a recent trade that happened within the Eastern Conference and what this means for an in-season rival. I am your host of Celtics Today, Allie Barefoot. And of course, I got my right-hand man with me on today's show, Tyler Smith, to help me break down what went down against the unfortunately not very good San Antonio Spurs last night. But Smitty, I know that we had the usual Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown putting up over 20 points, but the Boston Celtics have won 20 straight at home.
20-0 to begin the season at home. I mean, what more could you ask for from a team that's the presumptive favorite to win the NBA Finals right now? It's game by game for these Celtics here, and to not let up at home, even against clearly inferior opponents, both on paper and when we see it on the floor, the San Antonio Spurs, it speaks volumes about the Celtics that they take every game seriously and they're pursuing success game in and game out this year.
Of course, you had JT have 24 points. Drew Holiday, second leading scorer with 22. Jaylen Brown with 21. Drew Holiday seemingly making the bigger shots when it is a lesser game, but nonetheless, we still do love Mr. Happy Holidays there. But it was a good team win. I don't think any of these players did play for half of the fourth quarter, so the fact that the rest of the bench got some action, including Mr. J.D. Davidson and Jordan Walsh from the Maine Celtics, they were pulled up for this game. But overall, the Celtics have been known to play down to a team that is lesser than them. So the fact that they come out with a huge win, they got to get some reps for Mr. Jordan Walsh, which I know Celtics fans are a huge fan of Mr. Walsh. Did he have any points? No. Did he take one major three? Yes. But the big thing here, crashing to the board, grabbing 4 rebounds where he can. There's a long way to go for Jordan Walsh. But overall, to see him against Wemby and the Spurs, it was definitely cleansing for my palate for the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, and this is a result of the Boston Celtics resting Kristaps Porzingis, Derrick White in this one. The Maine Celtics not being scheduled for a game on this night. So Jordan Walsh and J.D. Davidson had the opportunity to make their NBA season debuts. And for Jordan Walsh, his NBA debut in general. He did score, but one, that's not Jordan Walsh. That's not why we drafted Jordan Walsh. And 2, he did so much more that was necessary and refreshing, like Allie kind of mentioned, on the floor for Boston. He had a nice block, and he was crashing the boards. He was all over. He was hustling in about the 2 minutes that he got. And this is just a guy who we haven't seen yet this season. I think it's somebody who can come into this lineup potentially down the stretch. He's been scoring the ball more efficiently than he ever had in college. There in Maine in the G League, and he's still defending at a high level, crashing the boards, getting the steals, getting the blocks, but also contributing to winning plays outside of the box score as well. I think Jordan Walsh has the opportunity to creep his way into the lineup, kind of like O'Shea Brissett has down the stretch of this season into the All-Star break and beyond.
I think the reason why Jordan Walsh getting some numbers right now, along with Neemias Queta, Luke Cornett was in the starting lineup against the Spurs, is because Joe Mazzulla has been doing this thing, which there are pros and cons to it, do not get me wrong, of sitting starters. However, it has bit the Celtics and the you-know-what, where they do sit players going up against these lesser teams, and it ends in Detroit Pistons overtime. It ends in a Hornets overtime loss when you do think you have the leg up here. So it's kind of becoming this trend for Joe Mazzulla, really trying to think ahead and keeping his star players healthy for May. But with that, there are some pros in the sense you do get to see O'Shea Brissett, Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, Luke Cornett have a bigger role. Like O'Shea, he has been phenomenal crashing to the board. I have truly become a huge advocate for him in terms of offensive rebounding. His points will come. Does he drive and does he cut? Yes. Does he look like a second coming of who Jonathan Kuminga has started to flourish for the Golden State Warriors? I would say so. 2 for 5, 40% isn't bad, but he wasn't the only player that got some playing time because Kristaps and because Derrick White were out of this ball game. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of this trend, though. I do understand that when you need to rest, like we do see Kristaps Porzingis icing his knees every single game, and I do understand you have right knee inflammation. And while you do allow Neemias Queta, who I am a huge fan of, to get more playing time, putting up 6 points, putting up 8 boards, that is fantastic. Were there some stretches where I was kind of like, okay, cutting a little close, could definitely use one of the starters in here. But I do feel bad for other players like Jayson Tatum, who's trying to compete for an MVP award. Jaylen Brown, who doesn't sit out nearly as much as the other players do, like Kristaps Porzingis. Al Horford's different story. He's 37 years old. Luke Cornett did get the start tonight. He did fine. He had 9 rebounds. Oh, pull my leg. Luke Cornett did great. Do you guys want me to say it? I mean...
it's the only reason I put it up here, honestly, because Luke Cornett balled out against the Spurs. He made himself available. He got good positioning underneath the basket. He converted at an efficient rate, 3 for 5 from the floor. And he got rebounds when he needed to. That's something we haven't really seen from Luke Cornett at a high rate this season. So, listen, I know we've put him in basically every trade proposal that we've ever seen on this channel. But, hey, Luke Cornett, over this little second quarter chunk of the NBA season, has done pretty solid for the Celtic team. And we got to give him his flowers. Maybe just, those little sunflower-looking weeds that you find in the grass. We'll give him one of those this time around. He's playing pretty solid here in January.
But here's the thing. Luke Cornett obviously doesn't get the start if they're playing Derrick White or Kristaps Porzingis. So if this is going to be a trend for Joe Mazzulla and the Boston Celtics leading all the way up to the playoffs, how do you guys feel about it? Do you want to see the Boston Celtics starters sit out to be able to preserve their healthiness? Or would you rather see what you are paying for to go to TD Garden, what we have looked forward to all offseason and through 40 games so far? Do you want to see the starting 5 play night in and night out? Because I personally do not know of any other NBA team that sits their starters as much as the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference, the Boston Celtics. So go on ahead and comment that down below while I do tell you about a sponsor here on Celtics Today. That is Factor Meals. It is a fresh, never frozen meal delivery service that is ready to eat in less than 2 minutes. And it makes your life so much easier. Why? Because it's delivered right to your front door. These are actually meals crafted by chefs. This is not frozen meals. They're dietitian approved and they follow along a healthy lifestyle. So depending on what your New Year's resolutions are, mine are just to eat healthier flat out. But if you're looking to get into keto or calorie deficient or even bulk up a little bit, get a little more protein in your diet, they have options for you. You guys know me. I don't eat red meats. The fact that there are a ton of chicken options, a ton of beans and veggies, I am all for it. If you guys want to get started, all you have to do is go to factormeals.com/NBAchat50. Be sure to use promo code NBAchat50 for 50% off. And it's not just dinner. They do have to-go items, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a little bit of dessert. So if you guys do want to get started, like I said, all you have to do is go to factormeals.com/NBAchat50. Be sure to use promo code NBAchat50. That's what's going to get you 50% off at factormeals.com/NBAchat50. Use that promo code NBAchat50. Let's take a quick look here at the Eastern Conference standings right now. Some games are still going on, some games while we are filming this. However, the Boston Celtics are still tried and true, 32-9 at the top of the number 1 Eastern Conference standings. The Bucks had a huge loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers last night, which does help the Celtics in the long run. Of course, the Pacers and the Knicks are actually going to flip-flop these spots here just because the Knicks just recently won last night. The Pacers did not play. However, the Indiana Pacers have a new face on the team. That is right. All the trade rumors are finally put to rest. Pascal Siakam did go to the Indiana Pacers, who have been trouble for the Boston Celtics so far this year. So let me break down this trade real quick, and I'll get Smitty's opinion on this. The Pacers received Pascal Siakam and a second-round pick, which I thought was a little low, in my opinion here. The Raptors do give up Bruce Brown, Jordan Nwora, 3 first-round picks, and Lewis Jr. And the Pelicans do receive cash considerations along with this trade. Smitty, go ahead and start off how you feel about this.
Yeah, right off the bat, I actually kind of disagree with you. I feel like the Raptors actually got a great deal in this trade because Pascal Siakam, he's a free agent this summer. Now, he has said, according to Adrian Wojnarowski, who did break down this trade earlier Wednesday, that Pascal Siakam is very excited about being an Indiana Pacer.
Yeah.
Now, is that something that makes me believe that right away? No, because who funnels information to insiders of the NBA? It's agents, it's GMs, and they don't necessarily always tell the whole truth, right?
Right.
Pascal Siakam has to still hit free agency this July.
Yep.
You gave up 3 first-round picks for him. It's kind of a crazy deal in my opinion. But if they do re-sign him, and this does make the Pacers a more formidable contender in the Eastern Conference, no doubt. The two-man game between him and Tyrese Haliburton is going to be very, very solid. And like I said again, this just make the Pacers better. I think the Raptors are going to lose him no matter what, so securing Bruce Brown, 3 first-round picks is really what matters on that side of the trade. And then Pelicans just getting rid of Kira Lewis Jr. No, nothing really. It's just a throw-in. Can't believe they just probably called them up and they were like, hey, let's hop in this trade. I want to get in the headlines today. New
Want some
Orleans
cash?
headlines. So Pascal Siakam, great player. He's going to do wonders with Haliburton, but I don't think this necessarily makes them a true finals contender or anything of that sort.
I'm not necessarily looking for finals contenders. I'm more just necessarily looking for more of an Achilles heel when it comes to the Boston Celtics, which the Pacers have seemed to have been so far this season. Pascal Siakam has been the #1 trade target so far since the trade market did open December and will close in February. Do I think the NBA Pacers do get a fantastic ball player? Absolutely. Is Tyrese Haliburton still out with his hamstring injury? Yes, which he did sustain against the Boston Celtics. But when we go back to what they have dealt with this entire season, they have won 2 games and they have lost 2 games with the Indiana Pacers. So this new look could be pretty detrimental, as you have seen for the New York Knicks right now, who have beaten a lot of teams since they have received OG Anunoby in their trade. Pascal Siakam is now no longer with the Raptors. I think that whenever there is a trade, it's definitely just one of those things that just gives a new, fresh feeling to a team. And it makes me a little worrisome just in the sense, talking about the Boston Celtics, whether or not the Pacers are playoff contenders, that's their business. We're worried about the Boston Celtics, and as of right now, they lost to the Pacers without Tyrese Haliburton in the second half, when they could have easily won despite being down 1 player. The Celtics and Pacers are 50-50 so far this season. They will play one more time here in January with Pascal Siakam on their team. So I'm very excited to see what this means for the Pacers moving forward and how they play against the Boston Celtics. How do you guys feel about Siakam being on the Pacers? Are you worried? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I don't want to say worried. I'm more intrigued to see if the Celtics are bothered by this at all. Go ahead and type Y for yes, type N for no. And while you guys are at it, hit that sub button. We are on the journey to 23,000 subs. We're going to be live on Friday against the Denver Nuggets. You're not going to want to miss this. So to be in the know of everything Boston Celtics, hit that sub button for me.